Hey guys, welcome back to the Kop TV, the voice of football's most famous stand. As we all know, Jurgen Klopp will be leaving Liverpool at the end of the season. The rumour mill has been rumour milling for the last 4 months since he announced it. Of course, we were let down, really, or we were shunned by Xabi Alonso. He's decided to stay at Leverkusen, and you know what? Fair play to him. I respect the loyalty. Still hasn't lost a game this season. But immediately, when that news broke, the attention turned to one man, and his name was Ruben Amorim. And joining me on this show is Jack Collins, who is not only a massive mate of mine, but also is a European football expert. He knows everything there is to know about the Portuguese league, and in particular, Ruben Amorim. You've done a podcast on your amazing platform, Ranks, where you've really done a deep dive, Jack, into maybe how he would suit Liverpool and his coaching style, and how Liverpool fans could maybe look forward to what should be a fantastic young manager who is already doing bits as well. So smash that like button. This video is going to educate you on why we think Amorim is the man to join Liverpool, I guess from June the 1st, really. I mean, still fighting on all fronts, really, with Lisbon, can win the league and the cup. But talk to us about what you know about Amorim, his experience so far, already experienced for such a young manager.
Yeah.
And why do you think that he is the man that's going to come into Liverpool, but why is his style especially going to suit Liverpool, and can we expect to see success with him?
Yeah, so, I mean, look, every appointment, especially one on the back of a legend leaving the club and a dynasty that's been, I think built under Klopp, comes with risks, right? So none of this is guaranteed, and I think it's always worth putting that caveat in at the start, because we've seen managers come in who were, couldn't fail. This one couldn't fail, but they have. So it's not a guarantee, but I think as appointments go, this one feels very smart, very well thought out by Liverpool. And, we're seeing now it sort of start to rumble towards a conclusion, I think. Pedro Sepúlveda has been brilliant across breaking this. He's been the person who feels like he's closest to the deal. It now feels like it's edging closer to some sort of completion. And look, Amorim will continue to say, I think, that he hasn't had any direct contact with Liverpool, and that's probably true. For what it's worth, I think that this will be managed in the back channels beforehand. His agent will be dealing with it, but I think it feels pretty likely now that he is going to be the man in the dugout at Anfield come the start of next season, and I like it. And there's lots to like. So Amorim, as you say, he's only 39. He's only been a top flight manager for 5 years or so, but I think to kind of get a good feel on it, or get a start on it, you look at where Sporting were when Amorim came in. March 2020 he was appointed. They paid 10 million euros. I think it was a record fee ever for a manager, definitely in the Portuguese league, when he came in from Braga. He'd been managing in a top flight for 7 months. And he sat in his press conference with all the lights on him. He had a Benfica past. He was 35 at the time. And everyone was going, question this, question. And he just sat there and he smiled at them, and he went, what if it goes right? What if it goes right? And I think 4 years on, we can comfortably sit here and say it's gone really quite right. He's brought the title back for the first time in 20 years when he won it in 2020. He looks pretty much dead set to win a title again this year. I think they'll win the double, to be perfectly honest with you. They've been a brilliant side this year to watch, but also I think where they were in that March, they'd gone through 4 managers in the space of a year before him. The other lads were starting to look a bit like a managerial graveyard, and they just brought in an sort of unheard of 35. Done a brilliant job with Braga over the sort of 8 months. Won the cup with them. But equally, a huge gamble. Yeah. And now we're talking about this as a step for Liverpool. Yes, it's a gamble, but no way does it feel like they're taking huge risks here. Amorim is a master communicator. And I think what we've seen in Portugal, and he's Lisbon born, he is a Lisbonense, he feels like he's got like a real tie to the city. So the question becomes, does that communication translate? I think it does. Now, Klopp came in from a foreign country and immediately took hold of the narrative. I imagine Amorim will do the same. He's a brilliant speaker. You see him in interviews in English. He speaks perfectly fluent English. He did quite a lot of his coaching stuff in Belfast. So he's got a link there as well. And we've seen him be not just, communicative in English in press conferences, but pithy and funny and ask, poignant questions back to journalists. I think all that matters, especially at a club like Liverpool, where I think the emotion, the bond with the fans is something that really you can dial into quite quickly. So there's that element of it. And I think that coming in from that perspective and having turned Sporting around from a side that were really struggling to keep up with Benfica and Porto, to winning 2 titles in 4 years, all whilst turning players over really quickly. So you think about the midfield four. He plays the 3-4-3. We'll come on to the formation, but the midfield four that he originally started with and who won the league that first year: Pedro Porro played at right wing back, João Palhinha, Mateus Nunes, and Nuno Mendes. So we're now talking PSG, we're talking Fulham, Man City, Tottenham Hotspur. The player that he came in to replace Palhinha was, who stepped up to replace Palhinha, he was still there, was Manuel Ugarte. He's now gone to PSG, and Sporting just keep rolling. They keep rolling. They brought in Hidemasi Morita, they brought in Milton Hjulmand, who's been absolutely sensational. But what I think Amorim's greatest trait is, and actually where this really suits Liverpool, is he's improved players. He brought in João Palhinha, came back from a loan spell at Braga. He was a bit of a cast-off. Yes, he was an academy prospect that they liked, but they were happy enough to loan him out to Braga were direct contenders with Sporting at that point. They loaned him out. Came back in, became the best defensive midfielder in Portugal, and has come into the Premier League and been one of the best defensive midfielders across the division. You look at the growth in these players, and it's not just the ones that have left. Pedro Gonçalves, or Pot, came in from Famalicão as a central midfielder. He's been brilliant in that kind of hybrid attacker midfield role, which I think will really suit someone like Szoboszlai or Harvey Elliott if he comes in there. And, Gonzalo Inacio, who's linked with Liverpool reportedly, Usman Diamande, who's linked with Premier Leagues. All of these players have really grown under Amorim. And I think that ability to get the best out of what you have, and it probably gives a real sense to the young players who've emerged at Liverpool this season, that they have a capacity to come in and be a part of what will be a new era.
Yeah, I mean, beautifully said. I think from what I've seen of him in his press conferences, I agree he's quite jovial.
Has made a point of being like, I'm not going to sit here and criticise referees. He's like, there's no point doing it. I want to focus on the things that are in my control. Exactly. I love that from him.
And I love that. And again, if I'm super, super honest, there was still a part of me that was really gunning for Xabi Alonso.
Reasonable.
Because of the past and the link and how well he's been doing. I mean, he is, in my opinion, the hottest prospect in kind of young managers across Europe. But Amorim, I have to say, is up there. Maybe even second.
I think, to be fair, his resume and his CV is
more impressive
stronger
than
Alonso's. I think, you mentioned at the top about being shunned by Xabi Alonso. And I get it. And I absolutely understand the link. And it would have been so nice to have him back at the club and not have to work about building a bond, it already being there with the fan base. But equally, if he'd left for Bayern Munich, I think that would have felt like the handoff.
Yeah.
Whereas staying at Leverkusen, I think one might be the smart move for him, just allowing him to grow, and he's done that throughout his career. And two, I just think Amorim comes in with a little bit more pedigree's maybe not the right word, because what Alonso's doing at Leverkusen is incredible, but a little bit more kind of, okay, he's not only built an excellent team, he's then had that team torn down and rebuilt another one. And we talk about dynasties and Klopp leaving Liverpool. Sporting are going to have a hell of a job on their hands replacing Amorim, because where the club is when he leaves them compared to where the club was when he took over, it's chalk and cheese. There was a club where the fans were invading the training ground, like hitting the players. They were at war with the president. The entire place was turmoil, and Amorim has completely steadied the ship while still selling players, making them financially solvent. It's been, as jobs go, that 10 million euros that they spent to bring on Amorim might go down as the best 10 million euros that Sporting have ever spent.
Wow. And listen, he knocked out Arsenal in the Europa League last year.
Yeah.
Got that amazing draw, I think it was 3-3 away at the Emirates, which put them through. So he is now, he is the favourite to become the next Liverpool manager. And as you mentioned again at the top, to replace Jurgen Klopp is the poison chalice. It's almost impossible. There's obvious comparisons to David Moyes and Fergie and etc.
I think Emery and Arsene Wenger might be the easier comparison. I think what was happening at United, where the entire squad was just well old and kind of past it, and it was a bit of a poison shot. I think with Arsenal, there's more of a direct comparison, and it took Emery a while to get his stock back, but I think we're seeing that didn't make him a bad manager because Arsenal fans weren't happy with what was going on at the time.
Yeah, it was really a dark time, and Ruben Amorim obviously will be hopefully coming in under Michael Edwards, who is coming back in as CEO, and then you've also got Richard Hughes. How do you think the dynamic will work, or will it work, first of all, but how will the dynamic work between those three in terms of transfer targets, in terms of starting really well, getting a strong pre-season in, keeping hold of key players? Will he have the gravitas to come in and sit down with a Virgil, a Trent and an Alisson and say, you're staying with me now, Mo Salah, you're staying with me, see out this project? Does he have the authority almost to come in and do that, or will he be facing a little bit of a fight straight away?
It's a hard question to answer.
It is. It's almost an impossible question to answer.
I would draw a comparison to when Klopp came in, right? Klopp had done a really good job at Borussia Dortmund. He'd done an excellent job at Mainz. But equally, there were questions over whether he was going to be able to translate that to the Premier League, whether he would be respected in the way that he was. And now we're looking at him as, one of the best managers to ever manage in the Premier League. So Amorim has a task on his hands. I don't think that's up for debate. But equally, I think he speaks really well. He carries himself with a real sense of authority. And ever since he was a player, it's interesting to think about this because you go back to his playing days, he wasn't that good. Like, he was good, but not like a world beater. Yet he was in Portugal's World Cup squads, Portugal's Euro squads, because of the gravitas he carried himself with and the fact that he was loved in the dressing room. He is beloved in the Sporting dressing room. And not just in terms of he speaks really well, he makes players feel comfortable. He has a postgraduate degree in psychomotor education, which basically means it's a course developed to get the best out of individuals within a group setting, which is a pretty cool sense. And one, I want to do one. But two, you are looking at that and thinking, okay, so what you're learning here is how to manage these situations and how to make sure that individuals thrive within them. I think if he's given the opportunity and given time, he will win players over. And you hear other players speak about him and players who played under him speak about him. They're like, he's not tactically all that complex. He's comes up with good ideas, and he executes them really well. But his instructions are simple. He allows players to go out and do what they do best. It's not overcomplicating things, and that's going to be interesting. The others, the big flip of this is the 3-4-3 he plays at Sporting. Does that translate? And I spent a long time thinking about this because when I was talking about Alonso as a potential Liverpool manager, I kind of came to the conclusion that I didn't think he would take his 3-4-3 from Leverkusen with him to Liverpool. I thought he'd adapt and play differently. I'm not sure Amorim will. And at first I was like, I don't know how that fits. But I've come to the conclusion that I think it fits quite nicely. And I think there are gaps. I think you probably need to bring in someone who can cover both the central centre-back role and the right centre-back role, although I think Joe Gomez fits quite nicely into that right centre-back role. I think Van Dijk will play off the left like he does for his country, because the central centre-back is expected to step out into midfield and be that first sort of attack, whereas I think Van Dijk is more comfortable in that sense where he's, okay, they're coming at me. Yeah. Also, his switch of play, Amorim loves that switch of play from his wide centre-backs, and he likes his wide centre-backs to be in possession of the ball a lot. So I'm thinking, okay, does Konate then play into the middle and be the man who steps out into the midfield and is kind of aggressive? Who plays at right centre-back? You're linked with Inacio. It's not the player I'd sign from Sporting. I'd sign Diomande, who can cover both of those roles quite nicely. I think you look at how his wing-backs play. They are expected to provide all of the width in an Amorim team. You'd think back to Trent. You think back to Robertson in that season where they knocked in record numbers of assists. And I'm thinking, can we get back to that kind of level of productivity? When Amorim's teams play against teams who sit in low blocks, they cross loads. And Darwin fits beautifully in this Gyökeres mold. And look, Gyökeres has scored, 36 goals or something and got 15 assists.
I saw him play for Coventry in the playoff final
He's over 50. Year. He's over 50 goal contributions for the season, right?
And he's been there 1 year.
He's been there 1 year. But what I think is nice about him, great aerial ability, but he runs the channels like a demon. I think Darwin fits. And I think that, you say Pedro Gonçalves sort of plays this hybrid role between the front three and the midfield two. That feels pretty cut out for a Szoboszlai or Harvey Elliott. I'm not sure the front three of Darwin, Diaz and Salah works. I think one of them has to go to kind of incorporate this hybrid player. But you kind of look at how that shakes out. The two in midfield feels quite nice for an Endo by Cetic in one space, and then maybe an Alexis, and you might need another player there, but Curtis maybe in the other. Suddenly it all starts to fit. Yes, there are parts that are needed. I think you need probably a long-term cover for Endo in that role because it's asked to do a lot of work.
And he is, 31.
Maybe that's Morten Hjulmand, who's been brilliant for Sporting this year, absolutely unbelievable since signing for Lecce, and I think he will bring one or two with him to just carry the message over. But maybe you need another wing back on the left hand side, perhaps maybe someone like a Ryan Aït-Nouri who's been linked with Liverpool.
I was just about to say that name.
They feel like, but mostly I feel like the squad does actually translate to this quite nicely if you fill the gaps.
So you're saying that formation wise it would work. You're saying that communicatively it would work. Personality-wise, it would work. The kind of connection between the what I call the Holy Trinity in terms of the fans, the playing staff, and the players all singing from the same hymn sheet. I think that could work. There's obviously been a lot of reports, and you mentioned Pedro, who's quite close to this. Last week, Amorim said, to end everything that's been reported, this is the only time and last time I'll talk about my future. There was no interview or agreement with Liverpool. The only thing all we want is to be crowned champions, and nothing will change. I'll say it again. I'm Sporting's coach. There was no interview with any club or agreement with any club. I am focused. And again, listen,
he's got a job
in
to
a
do.
crunch
He's got
period,
a job to do right
he
now.
has to say that.
Absolutely.
And I don't want him
flirting with Liverpool while you've got a job.
Sounds like Gasperini did in the presser before the game yesterday. He's like, it's very honouring to be linked to Liverpool. That's how you shut down a rumour, but also that's not, I'm not coming. It's not the right time.
Yeah,
Let me do what I need to do. You've still got jobs to do.
A couple of games here, right?
And then we'll, agree when we need to agree. But I'm liking the kind of the context around him, the story, his kind of stock that he's come from, how he's risen up and become one of the most kind of desired managers. What do you make of the reports that apparently his agent has bought a flat in Liverpool and there looks to be some kind of...
This isn't a report. This is true. His agent has bought a flat in Liverpool. His agent also looks after Luis Diaz.
So there's a bit of context needed.
Yeah, I think that... I mean, look, it looks good, and you'd imagine that maybe they don't need someone permanently in Liverpool just to look after Luis Diaz. So I would suggest that maybe there's some conjecture that can be applied. But equally, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's it, done deal. So... Look, I think he looks likely to take this job. I think he feels like a good time for him to make a step. He's earned the right, I think, to make a step to a top 5 league at this point. This is a massive job, and these opportunities don't come around all that often. So I think he would be pretty wild to turn it down at this point, considering that he almost feels like he's taken Sporting as far as maybe he can. And look, the Primeira is a wonderful league, and I adore Portuguese football. But equally, there is a sense of a limitation on it with the financial constraints, all of the bits around it. And he
has been fighting against the Portos, the Benficas, very similar to what Klopp has been doing in terms of, going up against City every year.
Yeah.
So there's, when you really do that deep dive, and again, no one will compare to Klopp, but all of a sudden we get to the end of April and we're trying to finalise our new manager. All of a sudden we're seeing quite a lot of boxes being ticked.
Yeah, I mean, look, as we said at the top, in
terms of just the fit between the man and the club.
You can't ever say that everything is going to be perfect or any of those things. And, sometimes things come into play that no one could expect. But on paper, everything for me lines up quite nicely. I think in terms of a character and an attitude, he will align with what Liverpool fans want to see from their club. I don't think he's miles away from Klopp in terms of, what he believes in. And look, I don't think he's going to be as outspoken on politics or those things as Klopp was. And look, that was part of why he was so beloved, right? And I absolutely understand that. I'm not sure. The Portuguese are generally slightly more reticent, I think, to speak out on these issues, and that's fine. But I do think in terms of what he stands for and what his football looks like, Liverpool fans will be able to see elements of what Klopp had, even if it looks different on the pitch, if you will. I think his pressing game is very strong. There are the elements of this. And as you say, you bring in a manager who's 39 years old, you could be you'd be setting up another dynasty here. And he's coming in from a far higher point than where Klopp was, right? Where the club was when Klopp came in was a bit all over the place. You look at it now, and the streamline across Liverpool, the production line coming out of Kirby, everything that's, looking at the way that the Liverpool are moving forward, it's a great place to come into at this point. Yes, it's hard to follow a legend, but this is not like, as I said, not like when United lost Ferguson, because the entire club fell apart. I can't see that happening at Liverpool with the way that things have been structured. And so I think for a young, exciting manager who has the opportunity to build something himself here, it's an opportunity you dream of, right?
And what he's done with Sebastian Coates.
Hey, Sebastian Coates has been unbelievable for Sporting. Fair play to him.
For Sporting, yes. I mean, this guy...
Bring him home. It's time.
Genuinely, man. He's 33 now. He came to Liverpool in 2011. 13 league games he played. Obviously scored that incredible overhead kick against QPR, which we in a game that I think we lost in the end. What he's done is just insane with Seb Coates. So big up. Listen, he's obviously managed to...
If he can work that with Coates, imagine what he can do with
the motor psycho.
It's like a motor.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect example.
He's got a motor
Perfect.
cycle.
He's been cycled, Coates, and then you look at Marcus Edwards, obviously him.
Yeah, brilliant. He's
a young talent come from Tottenham, and the players that they've overseen in terms of the. I don't think there's any league in Europe that sells as well as the Portuguese league.
Or to be honest,
or produces
as much talent. The production line in Portugal is absurd. And look, they have to a level, because they're not able to go and buy expensive players in the way that the Premier League is. But it means that this, the youngsters in Portugal that are coming through time and time again, and there's a couple at Sporting in particular, Eduardo Quaresma and Daniel Bragança.
Wow.
Just really, and look, they sold Yusuf Tumiti obviously to Everton last year. Someone's got to have to rescue him, because I'm not
Cristiano
sure.
Ronaldo, Figo.
Yeah. But
the list goes well on.
Just even right now, you're seeing players come into this team and suddenly thrive. And I think what Amorim's done there is create an environment that allows players to come in and be the best version of themselves. And to be honest, when it comes that we talk about lots of things with managers, that is fundamentally what you want from a manager, right? Someone who lets your players be the best version of themselves, who puts them in positions to succeed. And that's what Amorim's done at Sporting.
There's your deep dive into Ruben Amorim. Will he become what we hope he will become? He's obviously going to get all the support in the world. We hope he's backed. We hope this announcement is sooner rather than later. Obviously, Sporting Lisbon themselves have a lot to play for, as do Liverpool, less now. But still stuff to play for nonetheless. And it was really interesting to kind of get a deep dive and learn stuff that I wasn't aware of about Ruben. So once again, Jack, thanks for coming on the channel.
Much.
Thanks for your knowledge.
Appreciate it.
Plug the podcast if people want to hear more.
We did do a 55 minute deep dive on Amorim and everything they'll bring, the fits for different players, the squad. We'll put a link in the description to the podcast, but it's over on Ranks FC. If you just search Ranks FC Ruben Amorim, you will find it. We'd love to have you over there.
Lovely stuff. Well, listen, guys, let us know in the comments about your thoughts for the next manager. Should it not even be Amorim? Are you maybe that person that doesn't go with the apple cart and maybe wants another manager? Let us know who in the comments. But if this is your choice, which it is now looking very likely that Liverpool will go down that road, then we've pretty much spoken about the formation, the context, the stock that he's come from. So much achieved for such a young age, and maybe even more successful at such a young age than Xabi Alonso, if you are going to compare them. Not that you should, but if you are. So are you happy? Let us know. Are you excited? Has this given you enough information now to go away and start maybe, watching a few Sporting games and really understanding a little bit more about his playing style? And will it work at Liverpool? So many questions to ask, so many answers to get as well from this name. So really looking forward to seeing what the future holds for him, and of course how that involves Liverpool as well. So listen, great to deep dive on the main man. Obviously we've still got the Premier League to fight for, so we'll still be going all fronts in the Prem. But make sure you like the video, comment with your thoughts on what we've spoken about, subscribe to the channel, and let's see what we can still achieve this season. Once again, thanks to Jack. Take care, we'll see you soon. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you've enjoyed this, make sure you check out the rest of the channel too. There's other stuff you'll enjoy for sure.
Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the Kop TV.
The voice of football's most famous dads.
Come on.